It took being burned alive for me to finally see the truth. I deserved to die, forever looking away. In my past life, I was framed and left to die in a sea of flames. Not a single one of my so-called family members was willing to save me. But my fiancée, the woman I had despised more than anyone, charged into the inferno like a madwoman. She chose to be consumed by the flames with me. In our final moments, she clutched my hand, her words broken by sobs. I've waited too long for you in this life. In the next, you have to find me sooner. Maybe her sheer will move the heavens. When I opened my eyes again, I had been reborn 5 years in the past. Back to the time when I hated her the most. But this time, I would never let her go. I woke from the dream and sat on my bed, stunned. The alarm clock in the corner ticked away, and a desk calendar sat silently on the nightstand. I looked down at the pristine wedding band on my ring finger. I squeezed my eyes shut. I was really back 5 years in the past. The all-consuming fire and the soft touch of her hand before I died felt so real. Was this a dream, or was it real? I pinched my thigh hard, and a dull ache spread through it. The blare of a car horn from the street below jolted me out of my stupor. After the initial shock, an endless wave of heartache and regret washed over me. A carefully manufactured misunderstanding had made me hate Chloe for years. During that time, her competitors used every dirty trick in the book to crush her. They left her gasping for air. And at home, I treated her with nothing but ice. Chloe's parents had died young, leaving her with no one. She spent the better part of her life alone, just trying to keep the company her parents left her afloat. Eventually, the truth came out. We had a few short, happy months together, and we were even expecting a child. Chloe had cherished that child. As career-focused as she was, she'd taken a long leave from work to rest at home the moment she found out she was pregnant, only to suffer a devastating miscarriage later. Just then, our housekeeper, Maria, came into the room. "Sir, the flowers have been delivered. Are you ready to leave?" Maria asked. "What?" My mind was still a chaotic mess. "The flowers? Weren't you going to see Miss Sophia?" Sophia? Hearing that name jolted me. It was like finding the first thread in a tangled knot. So was this day. Sophia was my childhood sweetheart, a very talented actress, too. But then an accident left her with severe burns all over her body, requiring long-term hospitalization. In my past life, on this very day, I had taken a bouquet of flowers to the hospital. After celebrating Sophia's birthday, I came out and saw Chloe waiting in the car, a look of profound sorrow on her face. But I had no desire to explain myself or even to look at her. When Chloe saw me, she quickly got out of the car and hurried over. "Ethan, today is my birthday." Her voice held a fragile glimmer of hope. I stopped and turned to her, my gaze cold, and Chloe's clear eyes stared at me, but she said nothing. I said, "It's also Sophia's birthday. You destroyed her face and her career. You did whatever it took just to marry me. How exactly do you expect me to treat you?" Chloe opened her mouth, her voice a weak protest. "It was just an accident." I scoffed at her words. "If you hadn't invited her, she wouldn't be in the hospital. How can you expect me to believe that?" Chloe fell silent, and finally, she just said, "I'm sorry." From that day forward, my relationship with Chloe spiraled downward. We began a long, agonizing Cold War. It was only later that I learned the accident, which even Chloe believed was a fluke, was nothing more than a scheme to drive us apart. Maria's voice returning broke through my thoughts. "Sir, everything is in the car. We should go now, or we'll get stuck in traffic." I snapped back to reality, hastily throwing on my jacket and getting into the car. I suddenly realized that because this was 5 years ago, there was still time to fix everything. The driver merged into traffic. The FDR is already jammed up heading to the hospital. "Maybe you should call Miss Sophia and tell her you're running late." I watched the traffic lights change outside the window and said, "Change of plans. Don't go to the hospital. Take me to her office." To be honest, I barely remembered anything about Chloe's company. I hated her so much back then that I never once visited. And later, when I finally loved her, she was being targeted by her frenemies, surrounded by so much danger that I didn't dare go near her, which is why I was now standing beneath a canyon of skyscrapers in Midtown, completely lost. Which one was her building? Passers-by gave me curious looks. A well-dressed man, holding a massive bouquet, looked like he was about to propose. Feeling awkward, I pulled out my phone and found Chloe's contact, just her full name, not even saved as emergency contact. I hit the call button, expecting it to ring for a while, but she answered after just 2 rings. Her cool, professional voice came through the phone. Yes. Hearing her voice again, my eyes suddenly burned and my own voice caught in my throat. Chloe, where's your office? I can't find it. It sounded like Chloe was in a meeting. She paused for a moment. Then I heard her say, meeting's over. Then she spoke to me. Stay on the sidewalk. I'm coming down now. A few minutes later, Chloe emerged from the building. Her tall, slender figure cast a long shadow in the sunlight. She was elegant, cool, and utterly breathtaking. In contrast, I caught my reflection in the glass, looking like a disheveled mess. Damn it. What are you doing here? Her tone was flat, almost icy. I turned to face her. Chloe was watching me with a cool, distant expression. No matter the situation, Chloe was always flawless, like a flower blooming on a cliff's edge, untouched by the world. I looked down, unable to meet her eyes. Sorry for bothering you. Today, she began but didn't finish. I knew what she was thinking. Today, I was supposed to be with Sophia for her birthday, not here with her. That reminded me. I thrust the bouquet into her arms and mumbled, "Happy birthday." A long silence followed. I stole a glance at her and saw she was staring at the flowers, her expression far from happy. After a moment, a bitter, sarcastic smile touched her lips. Ethan, she rejected them, didn't she? What? I realized something was wrong, and my eyes shot to the bouquet. My heart sank. Oh no, they were ice blue roses. Their meaning was to give you the stars and the sea. Sophia's favorite things were the stars and the sea. My memories had been so jumbled when I woke up. All I could think about was finding Chloe, and I'd completely overlooked this detail. I'm sorry. I thank you for the birthday present, Chloe said, her voice stiff. It's getting late. I'll have the driver take you home. She turned to leave. I reacted instantly, grabbing her wrist. Wait. Chloe wasn't expecting it and lost her balance, stumbling back into my arms. Her body was soft and smelled faintly of a clean, fresh perfume. Chloe scrambled to her feet and stared at my hand on her wrist, silent for a long moment. I clenched my jaw and said stubbornly, Chloe, I'm not going home. Her expression was bleak. Ethan, what new way have you found to torture me? That was a hard question to answer. In my memory, at this point, Chloe and I were newlyweds, and I was in the middle of making her life hell. The fights were almost entirely one-sided with me, doing all the yelling. I said the cruelest things I could think of. Even the gifts I gave her were chosen specifically to twist the knife. I was the boy who cried wolf, and after so many false alarms, she had stopped believing anything I said. I remembered how after the truth came out in my past life, my methods had been more direct, more forceful. All it took was pinning her down. She looked so cool and distant, but she was surprisingly easy to win over, but that approach probably wouldn't work now. Besides, Chloe had endured so much pain and injustice. I want to make it up to her properly. After thinking for a moment, I said, let me take you to dinner. Chloe looked down, her voice cool. No, thank you. I have to work tonight. I shamelessly followed her. Then I'll order in. I'll get you some noodles for your birthday. Chloe didn't say a word, completely ignoring me. She still held the bouquet tightly in her hand. We passed a trash can, and I expected her to toss the flowers without a second thought, but she didn't. I followed her all the way into her office. A cold, untouched takeout container sat on her desk. She hadn't even started it. Was this how she planned to spend her birthday dinner? A pang of sympathy hit me. I took out my phone and ordered her a proper meal. Clear broth, low sodium, no scallions. I got her tomato beef brisket and a few mild vegetable sides. In the past, Chloe had always ordered spicy, heavy food to suit my tastes. I only found out later that she had a sensitive stomach and couldn't handle anything too spicy, oily, or salty. After placing the order, I sat on the sofa, unsure of what to say. Nothing seemed right. Chloe was unwrapping the roses, about to put them in a vase. The sight of those ice blue roses stung my eyes. Without a second thought, I walked over, snatched them from her, and threw them in the trash. She froze, looking at the bead of blood that had formed on her thumb where a thorn had pricked her. She sighed, exhausted. "Ethan, are you done yet?" "No." I suppressed my frustration, angry that she just took it like she had no fight left in her. "You don't have to keep them. If you don't like them, I'll buy you different ones." Chloe took a tissue and pressed it to the cut, her eyes downcast. "Just forget it," she said, her voice full of resignation. I ignored her, grabbed the bag of trash, and said, "Wait here." Then I rushed out. On that summer evening, the sidewalks were lined with street vendors selling flowers. Their quality couldn't compare to the expensive bouquets from a proper florist. Of course, I ran between several of them, buying up all their red roses and had them wrapped simply in brown paper. The food delivery arrived just as I finished, so I hauled everything upstairs. The 19th floor was even quieter than before. The few people who had been working late were gone. Only a single small lamp was on in Chloe's office. I quieted my footsteps as I pushed the door open. She was standing with her back to me, looking out the floor-to-ceiling window, her figure looking desolate. She looked like an abandoned kitten. The heavy bouquet and the food bags bumped against the door with a thud. Chloe's back stiffened. She spun around and saw me nearly buried under everything I was carrying. She didn't seem to expect me to return. After a moment of shock, she hurried over and took the massive bouquet from me. I caught my breath, beads of sweat on my forehead, but I managed to grin. "These are for you." I bought every red rose I could find on the street. A blank expression washed over Chloe's exquisite face. Crap. It seemed she couldn't handle me being nice to her. Did I have to be cruel for her to understand? When I saw her about to go back to her cold dinner, I let out an exaggerated sigh. Chloe's head snapped toward me, and I caught a flicker of concern in her eyes. I leaned back on the sofa, tilted my chin up, and said impatiently, "Can't you eat something warm? It annoys me to see you eating that cold crap." Chloe was silent. For the next half hour, the office was filled with my constant complaints. "Do you even know how to eat? Can't you see the huge piece of beef? Are you going to eat your vegetables? You're a grown woman, not a picky kid. Eat the noodles. Did I buy them for you to stare at?" After my relentless nagging, the bowl of hot noodles was finally empty. I was worried she wouldn't be full, so I'd also gotten her a couple of dinner rolls and even gave her the pastry I'd bought for myself. If I had to do this every day, it would kill me. I had talked myself hoarse. Suddenly, a glass of water appeared in front of me. I looked up to see Chloe watching me. "You should wet your throat before you continue yelling." Her expression had softened considerably. Though her eyes were still void of light, at least the icy defensiveness was gone. I fought the urge to pull her into a hug and said, "Chloe, from now on, let's try to live well together." At my words, she looked away and silently began to clean up, not answering my question. "Get your coat. I'll have the driver take you home." But I just got here. I protested, wanted to stay longer. But she quickly pushed the door open and left, almost as if she were fleeing from something. A coworker doesn't need to take out her own trash. After all, it would be a lie to say I wasn't disappointed. After being reborn, it felt like this woman was even harder to win over. I sat on the sofa, planning my next move. Should I be direct and just pin her down, or should we talk things out first? The sharp ring of a phone shattered my thoughts. I answered it absent-mindedly. The voice on the other end was distant yet familiar. "Ethan, where are you?" My buoyant mood instantly plummeted as I remembered her. "Oh, it's you." My tone was far from enthusiastic. Sophia's voice was soft. "I've been waiting for you. Didn't you promise you'd celebrate my birthday with me?" Remembering everything that had happened, my fingers tightened into a fist, my knuckles turning white. "Sophia, we're friends, right? We grew up together." Sophia sensed my distance and corrected me. "Ethan, we're family." "Family," I repeated. Then I asked suddenly, "Is there anything you need to tell me?" She was silent for a long time before sighing. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have snuck a piece of cake behind your back. See, this is what I mean. The one who is cared for can lie, make demands, and joke without a second thought, while Chloe has to stand in the shadows and endure everything. A chill ran through me, and I couldn't even force a smile. I'm busy today. I can't make it. Happy birthday. I hung up, taking a deep breath to quell the unease in my chest. I remember the call from Sophia right before I was kidnapped, asking for my location. I was lost in thought. She was the person I trusted most in the world. But what if from the very beginning the explosion was an inside job? I looked up and saw Chloe standing in the doorway, her face obscured by shadows, her expression unreadable. I hesitated before asking, "Did you hear all of that?" "Yes, let's go," she said, her voice eerily calm, as if she were suppressing a storm of emotion. "The car is downstairs." I opened my mouth, but I had no idea how to explain what was going to happen. She'd think I was insane. I followed her out the door, a wave of guilt washing over me. Chloe, her steps slowed for a fraction of a second, but she didn't turn around. "That was Sophia on the phone," I said, the words rushing out. "I did promise to celebrate her birthday yesterday, but I'm different today. I'm from the future." Chloe stopped dead in her tracks and turned, her beautiful eyes frosted over. "That's enough." She closed her eyes, composing herself. "The dinner was very good, and I was happy you could be here for my birthday." I watched her closely, seeing the pain she tried to bury deep in her eyes. Her lips were pale, and every word seemed to tremble out of her, as if she were in excruciating pain. "So, in the end, if you're going to her, I accept it. That's the price I have to pay." In my past life, Chloe once told me that for every small kindness I showed her, she paid for it with even greater pain. That's why she never dared to hope for anything from me and was always prepared for me to leave. Those words now felt like a knife twisting in my heart. It hurt so much. On this day, in my past life, while I was away, her dinner had been a single cold takeout container. No one had even wished her a happy birthday. That's why she had been waiting for me outside the hospital. All Chloe wanted was to hear me say happy birthday, but instead, I told her to get lost and stay away from me. The weight of the truth discovered too late was crushing me. She looked away. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. It's getting dark. If you're going to the hospital, you should." I grabbed Chloe's hand, forcefully lacing my fingers through hers. Her body went rigid, but she didn't pull her hand away. Her voice was a low, hoarse whisper. "Ethan, what are you doing? Isn't this humiliating enough for me?" I wrapped my arm firmly around her slim waist and said with unyielding force, "Don't move, my love." Those few words seemed to cast a spell on her, holding her completely still. I leaned down and kissed Chloe's cool lips. I held her waist, pressing her gently against the wall, my touch careful and soothing. She went from stiff and shocked to finally surrendering, her eyes fluttering shut. Her immaculate dress became a wrinkled mess. Without realizing it, her hands came up, her arms wrapping greedily around my back, pulling us flush against each other. The overhead lights of the hallway flickered, and we finally broke apart in the darkness, pressing our foreheads together, breathing heavily. "Ethan," Chloe's voice was a low, strained whisper. "Don't do this. You don't like it." "No," she said after a long pause. "Don't tempt me. Go to her while I still have some self-control left." "You'd let me," I whispered, blowing softly against her ear. "You're not jealous, not angry. You let me go kiss someone else." That seemed to trigger something in her. She suddenly looked up and silenced me with her own mouth. A smirk played on my lips. But what happened next was slightly beyond my control. "Chloe," I was suddenly on high alert. "Hey, what are you doing?" "I meant we could, at home." Her cool, commanding voice was laced with undeniable authority. "I gave you a chance to leave. You didn't take it. Now that chance is gone." The next thing I knew, she had pushed me down onto the office sofa. I never thought Chloe had it in her to do something so bold. But I had forgotten. In my past life, she was the kind of madwoman who would die for love. There was a wild streak buried deep inside her. Things escalated beyond my expectations. Chloe's weak pleas for mercy were muffled against my lips. "Ethan, please have a little mercy on me." I gritted my teeth and held her tight, a lump forming in my throat. "Chloe, I've already picked out names for our children. I thought about them for so long in my past life, but never had the chance to tell her." "Ethan, don't," she whispered, her voice trembling. "You don't believe it's possible?" I was met with only silence. She was probably too afraid to even hope that we could have a child together. I said, one for a boy, one for a girl. I'll let you choose the nicknames. I didn't realize that my words would throw the woman who had just regained her composure right back into a frenzy. The door clicked shut. The wind whispered outside the large windows. The moonlight was bright and clear, and from behind the closed door came only soft whispers. Late into the night, I teased her that I didn't want her anymore. Chloe hugged me tightly without a word and asked, if not me, then who do you want? She asked with complete seriousness. My face flushed as I retorted, anyone but you? She mumbled into my chest, that's not for you to decide. That night, my dreams were a tangled mess of Chloe and the all-consuming fire from my past life. I was lying in a pool of my own blood, explosives strapped to my chest. Chloe rushed through the flames and held me, her body trembling. I could see she was crying, and I could only weakly lift a hand to push her away. Go, Chloe. I said go. Don't touch me. I'm begging you. The sound of crying shattered the dream. The warmth of her touch vanished instantly. I fell back into darkness, and my eyes snapped open, my cheeks wet with tears. It was a dream. When I came to, I realized I had pushed Chloe to the very edge of the bed. From the look on her face, I had been talking in my sleep. She handed me a tissue but kept her distance, sitting on the far side of the bed. Her fingers carefully avoided touching mine. My heart sank. She had misunderstood. Chloe, I began. I was just dreaming. She was listening intently. I was in a fire with a bomb strapped to me, and you were about to die with me. That's why I was yelling. Don't get the wrong idea. A brief spark of understanding lit up Chloe's eyes before they went dim again, returning to a lifeless calm. Okay, I believe you. With that, she tucked the blanket around me, picked up her pillow, and started to leave the room. Chloe, I called out her back. You're lying. She didn't say anything. Fine, go then. I sat there on the bed, feeling no desire to explain further. No wonder people say youth makes you stubborn. This 5 years younger Chloe was so much more rigid, not as endearing as she would become. After a long silence, the mattress dipped behind me. Chloe sighed, go to sleep. Hold me. She obediently settled into my arms. The night was still long, but I stared into the endless darkness. All sleepiness gone since my rebirth. Too much information was swirling in my mind. The man who kidnapped me had a history with Chloe. He was a businessman whose company she had driven to bankruptcy. The accident that had happened to Sophia was actually a plot by my Uncle Marcus to drive Chloe and me apart. These were all things I had learned in the final year of my past life. My movements were always kept private, yet I was still abducted. How do they know where to find me? The only possibility was the phone call from Sophia. And just before the end, Chloe had said, "Thanks, Sophia. Without her, I never would have found you." I was too close to see it then. But looking back now, what role did Sophia, my first love, the person I trusted for over a decade, really play in all of this? After a sleepless night, I woke up feeling groggy. I fell back asleep and didn't wake up again until the afternoon. She had clearly anticipated I'd wake up hungry, as lunch was neatly laid out on the table. The house was immaculate, everything in its proper place. After quickly washing up and eating, I went to Chloe's home office. It was silent. She was in the middle of a video conference. The soft late afternoon light slanted through the window, casting a gentle glow on Chloe's stunning, cool face. It softened the cool, distant aura she naturally projected. My heart skipped a beat. The more I looked at her, the more beautiful she became. Chloe's perception was always sharp. The moment I opened the door, her eyes flicked up to meet mine. She saw what I was wearing and froze for a second. I gave a small, awkward cough and sat down across from her. I opened my phone and saw 5 missed calls and more than a dozen texts from Sophia, all from late last night. I must have been dead to the world at that point because I hadn't been woken by the calls. Could it be that I looked at Chloe, thought forming in my mind? Her gaze remained fixed on her screen, as if she hadn't noticed me at all. Keep pretending. I crossed my legs and started swinging my foot right in her peripheral vision. Chloe's voice faltered mid-sentence. After a brief pause, she said, "That will be all for today." And with that, she ended the call. She leaned back in her executive chair, her brow furrowed slightly. Ethan. Oh, last night it was all sweet endearments, and now it's just Ethan. It was a little chilly. So, I smiled and draped my jacket over her shoulders. So, Chloe, did my phone happen to ring last night? Chloe calmly looked down. I'm not sure. Is that so? I leaned across the desk and tilted her chin up. She was good at hiding her feelings, but to me, she was still just a young woman. Ethan, it's working hours, she reminded me with a serious tone. But if it weren't for her slightly ragged breath, I might have actually believed she was completely unaffected. Oh, I said, giving her a light kiss. Want another? She was silent for a moment before saying quite directly, yes. I gave her another kiss. I'll be in the other room. I'll wait for you to finish work, and we can go home together. Back in the other room, my phone rang again. It was Sophia. Ethan, I've been discharged. Her voice was hoarse and nasal, as if she hadn't slept at all. I was taken aback. Why are you out of the hospital? I'm stopping the treatments, she said, her voice dejected. If my face can't be fixed, I'd rather just give up. I want to live a quiet life with you. I frowned, my voice turning cold. That's not possible anymore, Sophia. And besides, I'm married. Then what am I supposed to do? Sophia asked. What about the promises we made? Is it because my face is ruined? Is that why you don't love me anymore? I hesitated. You were the one who said we had to break up so the studio would promote you, so you could have a bigger career. Sophia wouldn't give up, her voice softening. But Ethan, you promised you'd wait for me. And how long was I supposed to wait? I sighed. You had countless chances, but you just kept me waiting. My Uncle Marcus is the kind of man who will do anything to get what he wants. My parents were never interested in me. They left me with a family in New York and moved abroad to start new families of their own. I was just a pawn to the family. While Sophia was becoming a star, I was being backed into a corner by my uncle. That night, I called her over and over, and she just kept declining. The next day, I watched her have her first on-screen kiss, and my heart shattered. That's when I accepted my uncle's proposal. Now, Sophia asked over the phone, have you fallen in love with Chloe? I didn't hesitate for a second. I love her. In the days that followed, I didn't hear from Sophia again. I did a lot of thinking to catch the people who set me up in my past life. I needed Chloe's help. The first step was to get her to believe that I had been reborn. Otherwise, she might have me committed. I leaned on my elbows across from Chloe, enthusiastically telling her a story. It was the third reincarnation novel I had read to her this month. Chloe listened attentively. If you like it so much, I could invest in it. Turn it into a series. It's not about whether I like it. It's about whether you do. She glanced at my wrinkled shirt and sighed. If you like it, then I like it. I pressed on, making a fist and holding it up like a microphone. So, what are your thoughts on the matter? Chloe fell silent. We had been getting along much better lately. She was incredibly accommodating, almost bending to my every whim, but I still felt like there was a wall between us. Chloe, I said, pulling my chair closer and sitting in front of her with a serious expression. I think it's time I told you. She put down her fork, giving me her full attention. Go on. With a look of profound gravity, I said, the truth is I was reborn too. There was a long silence. Chloe raised a single eyebrow, her lips pressed together in a tight line. She was trying not to smile, pointed at her. See, you don't believe me. Go on, Ethan, she said, the corner of her mouth twitching before she forced it down. I believe you. I decided to just lay it all out and told her everything that had happened in my past life. At first, she listened as if I were a child telling a fantastical story. She probably thought it was just some new game I was playing, but gradually her brow furrowed in concentration. I knew I was getting through to her. The man who stabbed me, his last name was Foster. He used to work for your company before starting his own. Of course, that was in the future. I don't know where he is now. Also, my Uncle Marcus was involved. And finally, you have to watch out for Sophia. I couldn't finish my sentence before being cut off by the shrill ring of a phone. Chloe and I both saw the name on the screen at the same time. Sophia. In my haste, I hadn't changed her contact name from the old nickname yet. Chloe's expression immediately shuddered, her cold mask slipping back into place. She stood up and picked up her plate. I'll do the dishes. There was again that deliberate avoidance. She was still scared. I gritted my teeth, grabbed my phone, and followed her into the kitchen. She stood with her back to me, turning on the water. I put the call on speaker. Sophia's familiar voice filled the room. "Ethan, this might be the last time I ever call you." I could hear the sound of wind howling in the background. I tensed up immediately. "Where are you?" "The roof of our old high school," she said, her voice faint. "Ethan, do you remember the day my parents died? You told me your family didn't really care about you either, and that we could be a family for each other. I was going to jump from this roof when I was 18, but you stopped me," she said, her voice full of quiet sorrow. "Now that you don't want me anymore, I don't see any reason to keep living. Sophia, don't do anything stupid." My mind went blank. I spun around, grabbing my coat. "Just wait for me. I'm on my way." I hung up and turned to see Chloe still standing at the sink with her back to me. It was as if she hadn't heard a thing, with only the sound of the running water filling the silence. I panicked and rushed over to her. "Hey, what are you doing just standing there? Get changed." I pulled her, making her stumble. She stared at me, her beautiful eyes wide with surprise. "Get changed. It wouldn't be right for me to go alone. I'm a married man." I impatiently pulled out my phone again, speaking rapidly. "Chloe, you have 10 seconds to take off that apron. I'm calling 911. Sophia's lost her mind. There are still kids in evening classes at that school. What if she jumps in front of them?" "I'm ready." Chloe was already standing by the door, ready to go. I blinked. Wow, that was fast. The police were already on the scene when we arrived. They instructed me not to have any further contact with Sophia. As long as she had that sliver of hope, she wouldn't do anything rash. It also gave them enough time to evacuate the school. We reached the high school quickly. The wind on the roof was fierce, but it did little to cut the summer heat. The campus below was eerily silent. The police kept a safe distance about 15 feet from where Sophia was. An officer pulled me onto the roof. "Mr. Hayes, she insists on seeing you. We need you to stall for time. The rescue team is on its way." I glanced at Chloe, who was held back behind the police tape. She gave me a firm nod. I took a deep breath, climbed the final steps to the roof, and called out, "Sophia." The figure sitting on the ledge stirred and turned her head. I could see the scarred side of her face. "Ethan, you came." Looking at her, I felt a strange sense of dislocation. It felt like I hadn't seen her in a very long time. In my past life, after Chloe and I reconciled, we had tried to visit her a few times. But Sophia had been very resistant. I guess when you've hated someone for so long, it's hard to let go of that hatred, even when you find out they weren't the one who hurt you. On top of that, Chloe was soon fighting battles on all fronts, and things became so tense that I didn't dare leave the house. Between this life and the last, it had probably been over a year since I'd seen her. "Sophia, please come down from there." Sophia ignored my plea and just stared at me. "I'm sorry." Her gaze shifted to Chloe, who was waiting for me beyond the police line. "You were right. I was being too extreme. You told me clearly before you got married that we could only be family from then on. I was the one who got too greedy. I thought back to all those years Sophia and I had leaned on each other just to survive. When she was bullied by local thugs, I was the one who protected her, who took the punches for her. When my uncle kicked me out, she was the one who ran through a storm in the middle of the night to bring me an umbrella and take me in. For a moment, my resolve wavered. Was she really the one who had me killed?" Sophia smiled. "You promised you'd celebrate my birthday with me every year. Sing happy birthday to me, and I'll come down." "Okay, I'll sing." The wind seemed to die down as the simple melody of the birthday song drifted across the rooftop. But as I sang, all I could think was that I hadn't sung it for Chloe on her birthday. I'd have to make it up to her when I got home. When the song was over, Sophia stood up on the ledge facing me. "Thank you. I haven't heard you sing that in so many years. It was beautiful. I want to ask you one more question," she said, her voice soft. "Ask, do you still love me?" I was silent for a long time before I finally answered, "You're my family. You have been from the moment you first stepped on that stage." Sophia's dark eyes looked out over the crowd as if she were meeting Chloe's gaze. The wind on the roof was making me cold. "Let's go home." "Okay," I said. Sophia looked back at me and smiled faintly. "I love you, Ethan." And with that, she spread her arms and fell backward into the endless night. In that moment, time seemed to freeze. The blood froze in my veins. A second later, I lunged for the edge. Sophia. But I caught nothing but air. I stared blankly at the dark ground below, my mind completely empty. I thought I heard a dull thud, and my legs gave out, sending me to my knees. Sophia was dead just like that. Had I been wrong about her all along? People are perceptive. I had known her for so many years. Sophia must have sensed my growing distance and chose to end her life because of it. Did that mean I was the one who killed her? I sat there frozen, my body shaking uncontrollably. Suddenly, a pair of warm hands wrapped around my waist from behind. The familiar scent was a lifeline. I gripped Chloe's hands tightly. I killed her. She held me close. She's not dead. The police had an airbag set up below. They caught her. I closed my eyes, and it took a long moment for me to process her words. When someone truly dies because of something you did, the guilt is a mountain that can crush you. Chloe's voice was strained. Just some scrapes. They took her to the hospital. If you want to go, I can take you. No, my voice was hoarse. I want to stay with you. Okay. We went back to the car. Outside, the police were starting to clear the scene. Someone would be by to escort us to the hospital soon. Sophia had no family to call. I was exhausted. I turned to Chloe and said, there was one last thing I didn't get to tell you before. I suspect Sophia was involved in what happened to me. Chloe took a deep breath. Ethan, what if she wasn't? If she's innocent, will you choose her or me? It was only when she asked that question that I could finally truly breathe a sigh of relief. For so long, Chloe had assumed she would never be the one who was chosen. But the man I was now would choose her every single time. I looked at Chloe seriously. You remember when Sophia was just starting her career, right? Yes. We hadn't even met yet. By then, Sophia and I had already broken up. If I had to define my feelings for Sophia, they were complicated. We had survived a chaotic youth together and entered a harsh world side by side. Compared to all that, the romantic part of our relationship was minuscule. I counted it out on my fingers for her. She debuted, started acting, got more and more famous. By the time you and I got married, she and I had already been broken up for over a year. I admit, I hated you at first, the same way I hated my uncle. I hated people who forced their way into my life. Then, right around that time, Sophia got into that car accident on her way to meet with investors, and the driver was one of your employees. I just assumed you were as ruthless as my uncle. I didn't hate you because I was in love with Sophia. I wasn't. I just couldn't stand the thought of someone who would ruin another person's future over a petty disagreement. Chloe gently squeezed my hand. I'm sorry. It was my fault. I wasn't careful enough. No, I said, kissing her forehead. I told you it was my uncle's fault, not yours. If anyone dares to blame you, I'll fight them. She was quiet for a moment, then said, thank you for what? It's the first time anyone has ever taken my side. Her words sent another pang of guilt through me. Few people in our circle ever talked about Chloe's family. She really didn't have anyone to protect her. Chloe looked at me earnestly. Can you tell me how you started to fall for me? The night was dark, but I could see the hope shining in her eyes. I began slowly. One night, you came home drunk and tripped over a little scarf I was knitting for our dog. You then spent half the night sitting cross-legged on the floor, trying to figure out how to knit it yourself. I told you to go to bed, but you said the puppy would be cold in the winter without its scarf. And I thought that someone who could worry about a little dog being cold probably wasn't cruel enough to destroy another person's life. There was another part one didn't tell her. That night, Chloe had talked in her sleep. She'd said, Ethan, I'm cold too. I happened to hear her when I got up for a glass of water. My heart softened. I realized she was just as lonely as I was, all alone with no one to love her. Chloe listened, fascinated. We're going to have a dog. Yeah. 3 years from now on my birthday, you'll give me one. You'll say you're too busy and never home. So, you got him to keep me company. I chuckled, counting on my fingers. Come to think of it, he's probably some old dog somewhere right now, waiting to be reincarnated. Our dog was so smart. He learned everything instantly. I swear he must have skipped the river of forgetfulness. I stopped mid-sentence. Chloe looked at me, puzzled. What is it? I grabbed her hand, my mind racing. Sophia, she's like me. Like you? How? On the roof. I said, turning to her, my brow furrowed. Right before Sophia jumped, she said she hadn't heard me sing happy birthday to her in many years. But I celebrated her birthday with her last year. Chloe narrowed her eyes, and understanding dawned on her face. You're saying that in your past life, for several years, you didn't? Yes. The blood rushed my head. I felt a prickling sense of dread. If, as she said, she'd been waiting many years for me to sing her that song, then there's only one explanation. Chloe and I looked at each other, and I saw the same dawning horror in her eyes that I felt in mine. Let's go to the hospital. Half an hour later, a doctor told us that someone had already picked Sophia up. When we pressed for more information, they cited patient confidentiality and refused to tell us more. Under these circumstances, it was hard to believe Sophia wasn't involved. On the way home, I couldn't stop thinking about one thing. Do you think she jumped on purpose? Chloe's gaze was distant. Usually, if the building isn't too high, the police will set up an airbag. If it were me, I'd be 100% certain I could jump without getting killed. I watched her profile thoughtfully. Oh, so what do you think her motive was? She scoffed lightly. To win your sympathy, so you'd take her side. That was the first time in 2 lifetimes I had ever heard such a jealous remark from Chloe. I pursed my lips and nodded seriously. Yes, you seem to have a good grasp of the situation. She replied dryly. It takes one to know one. I didn't call her out on it, just stared out the window at the passing city lights, lost in thought. By telling Chloe who to watch out for 5 years ahead of time, things shouldn't get any worse than they did before. The memory of her rushing into the fire without a second thought to hold me made my heart ache all over again. How could I not have fallen for her? When someone is good to you, you notice. After several hours on the road, it was late by the time we got home. Maria had already gone home for the night. The living room was dark. Just as Chloe reached for the light switch, I lunged, pushing her down onto the sofa. Chloe's clothes were in disarray. "What are you doing?" she asked, her voice startled. "Chloe," I whispered, my lips close to her ear. "I love you." Her breath hitched. "Get off me." Her command was flustered, almost desperate. I blinked in surprise. "Don't tell me you." "Don't say it," she said, covering my eyes with her hand. "And don't look." My world went dark. I could feel my eyelashes brushing against her warm palm. Who knew 3 little words could have such a devastating effect? Completely shattered her composure. I grinned. "I love you. I love you. I love you." The teasing words were like a feather, tickling her defenses, tickling until a spark became a wildfire. I could feel her heart starting to race beneath my hand. I softened my voice. "My love, I love you." The next thing I knew, her lips were on mine. She was more passionate than I had ever seen her, trapping me with her affection and undeniable force. Her hands traced the side of my face and my neck as if I were a precious treasure. Her touch was intoxicating. I chuckled. "Hey, have you thought of any nicknames for our kids yet?" Chloe, overcome with emotion, held me close and whispered, "Ethan, I'm yours." After my shower, my eyelids felt heavy. As I held her, my hands roamed freely, taking every advantage. She was like a gentle kitten, seemingly incapable of anger. "Ethan, HM." I was so tired, my voice was thick with sleep. "Right after we got married, you promised to take me to a movie, but you canceled the next day, said you had a stomach ache, and went to the hospital. Were you going to see her?" For me, that felt like a lifetime ago. I thought back. It had nothing to do with Sophia. The day before, I'd gotten food poisoning from a bad piece of cake. I went to the hospital, got 4 IVs and some medication, and went straight home to bed. But from Chloe's tone, something was off. My sleepiness vanished instantly. I sat up. After a moment of surprise, Chloe said, "I'm sorry. Don't apologize." "I'm not angry," I said, sitting up cross-legged. "I'm just curious. Why would you think I want to see Sophia?" Logically, with her resources, she could have easily found out my whereabouts and known that I was practically half dead on an 4 drip in a hospital bed, but she hadn't checked. After a short silence, Chloe confessed, "I could see Sophia's Facebook posts, but she never posts anything on Facebook." Our eyes met, and we both saw the same confusion in each other's eyes. Chloe took out her phone and handed it to me. I eagerly tapped on Sophia's profile. The moment I saw her feed, my mind went blank. August 9th, Ethan said he'd celebrate my birthday with me today. Thank you, my love. August 1st, got to taste Ethan's home cooking. Tastes just like it used to. I scrolled frantically back through her posts until I found the one from 6 months ago. My movie is out, waiting for Ethan to come see it. It was from the day I had food poisoning, but when I checked on my own phone, Sophia's Facebook page was completely empty. The posts were set to be visible only to Chloe. The truth was, since I got married, I had barely interacted with Sophia at all. I only ever showed up when the hospital called about a bill or when her doctor needed to discuss a change in her treatment plan. I had truly been treating her like an old friend, but behind my back, she had been hurting the woman I loved over and over again. My head throbbed with anger, and you just believed it. There wasn't a single picture of me in any of those posts. Chloe looked down, staring at the blank page on my phone, and a slow light began to dawn in her eyes. Ethan, I was too scared not to believe it. She kept tapping the screen, refreshing the page, as if trying to confirm what she was seeing, an almost unconscious action of someone stepping into the light after being in the dark for too long. I was afraid that if I had someone look into it, I'd find out you really were at the movies with her. If that was the truth, I would have rather not known. I was both angry and heartbroken. You could have just asked me. I stopped mid-sentence. Of course, she didn't dare to ask. Back then, I would have just lashed out at her with cruel words. The answer I would have given her probably wouldn't have been any better than what she was already thinking. I was wrong. I pulled my poor, heartbroken wife into my arms, my own eyes stinging. I'm so sorry. I'll never lose my temper with you again. She let out a small, soft laugh. I could never be angry with you. Just please don't ever say you don't want me again. That night, the last wall between us finally crumbled. I swear sometimes I think Chloe has a masochistic streak. It's like she feels uncomfortable if I'm not yelling at her. One morning in early fall, I lost it again. Chloe, are you trying to work yourself to death? Do you want me to have a most dedicated employee plaque made for your tombstone? Over the phone, Chloe's usually smooth voice was thick and raspy, slightly nasal. She tried to laugh it off. I can handle it. She had spiked a high fever late last night, her skin burning to the touch. I called our family doctor, who prescribed some medicine to bring the fever down. I had to half coax, half force her to take it, and then I gave her a sponge bath to cool her down. Her fever finally broke just before dawn. I left a note for Maria with instructions for a light breakfast for Chloe to eat when she woke up. But when I woke up at 10 o'clock, she was already gone, off to work. Haunted by what happened in my past life, I was extra paranoid about her safety. After a quick breakfast, I grabbed the soup Maria had made and rushed to her office. Her assistant stood up nervously the moment she saw me. Miss Hayes is in a meeting. She can't be disturbed. That's fine. I'll wait. I sat down on the sofa in the waiting area and scrolled through my phone. Soon, I could hear Chloe's voice from inside the office. Her tone was sharper and colder than I had ever heard it. I gave you a chance. You're the one who didn't take it, Hayes. You're deliberately setting me up to fail. Chloe let out a soft, cold laugh. And this is completely unreasonable. I'm a businesswoman. I'm only interested in results. I don't waste time on reason. I listened intently, resting my chin in my hand while her poor assistant looked like she was about to have a heart attack. The door was flung open, and an enraged, middle-aged man stormed out. As he left, his eyes met mine for a second, and I froze. It was Foster, the man who had stabbed me in my past life. Had Chloe already started making her move 5 years ahead of schedule? She really was a woman of action. The assistant, sweating bullets, announced loudly, Ms. Hayes, your husband is here. I snapped out of it, picked up the food container, and walked in. Chloe was sitting by the window, her white blouse immaculate. She smiled at me gently. I was planning on coming home for lunch. I set the container down on her desk with a thud and sat across from her. That man who just left, he's the one I told you about, the one who stabbed me. A layer of ice formed in Chloe's beautiful eyes. Leave it to me, she said simply before turning her attention to the food. The timing was perfect. The soup was still warm. She had such impeccable manners. Even the way she ate was elegant. Noticing that I was still staring at her, Chloe paused.